Welcome to the Folk School on Willow Creek, featuring University Distinguished Professor Tom Ezern, singing and telling stories from the Salon on Willow Creek.
I need a bed for the night, boys, and my horses need hay. I've been riding that grove line on the hot dish highway. Way out on the plains of Kansas, where the wind blows hard and hot, stands a little old sod building where the berry boys were shot. Two men in the prime of manhood, a man with silvery hair, were cruelly murdered that bright day by the outlaw millionaire. A man by age and feeble, with a weak and trembling hand, shot down like a beef for slaughter by the Dewey cowardly band. Grand and free America, in this land where live the brave, is this the glorious country our fathers died to save? Can it be that there is no terror for the murderers of bloodstained hand? Are there no courts of justice in the glorious Christian land? Must wives be changed to widows in the space of a fleeting breath? Must children be made orphans and men be shot to death? Well, it's hard to think, but it's true. In this land we love so well, it's hard for us to believe that men with their honor sell. I should think that the murderers, although they may be free, those quiet, deathly faces and troubled dreams would see. Bloodstained locks so gray, I'd think that Chauncey Dewey would see them night and day. The jury is cleared, the savages of court, its verdict is given, but they'll find when done with their life that they can't buy the court of heaven. They'll find when done with their life that they can't buy the court of heaven. Nothing like a little dose of outrage to start off a folk school episode. And you know, it wouldn't be a Willow Creek folk school unless somebody died horribly, preferably by the murderous hand of a wicked cowman like Chauncey Dewey. We're falling into the groove of it there. And there are two stories and more than two stories about what happened in 1903 out back with that disputed water tank and what's known as the Dewey-Berry feud. The shootout happened on the 3rd of June of 1903, so it's one of our anniversary sort of commemorations here tonight, that ballad. It's one you may remember that I used to enjoy. I've talked about enjoying singing this with old Bill Cook. From Kansas State, and Bill was one of those guys. You follow his lead, or you're going in another direction. He's deaf in this ear and can't hear out of this one, and so you follow where Bill's going. But he had a definite idea as to who's on the right side in the case of the Dewey-Berry feud, and some historians have disagreed that maybe the Berry boys shot first when the Dewey boys came for that water tank. We don't have to settle that tonight, but we do. We can settle where this ballad came from. Text of the ballad first appeared over the signature of one John Henry Kirshner of Norton County, Kansas, a agricultural machinery dealer. And so he was on the farmer's side against the cowardly cattlemen, the Deweys. Yeah. And the song passed into oral tradition. I'm sure my old friend Bill learned it from word of mouth. And he also recognized the tune of it when he learned it. It's to the tune of, ironically enough, I'll be all smiles tonight. Yeah. Well, this is something of a Kansas classic. It pertains to much of the Great Plains, though, because at the heart of it is a range war. The Deweys as the cattle people, the Berries as the homesteading farmers. It's right out of Shane, after all. Or Clint Eastwood could come back and do a remake of this one, I believe, if he would ride in at the right moment. Way out on the plains of Kansas. That's where we're starting. You know, but then we're traveling tonight, figuratively, and I'll travel, way before dark 30 tomorrow morning. Yeah, I've got to leave like 5:30 tomorrow, to make my way out to Emmons County and start some meetings in the morning. I believe down at the Grill in Linton, so at least there'll be decent fare there. And then up to Strasburg to the Lawrence Welk State Historic Site, where there's a whole day long of activities. You can go to their Facebook page, Lawrence Welk Homestead State Historic Site, Welk Homestead State Historic Site, and find out all the stuff's going on. I think it's at 1 o'clock that I'm coming on, but the full schedule's on there. Alan Burke is out there tonight. I think tell him what you're talking about. Chime in there, Alan. Something on the history of Emmons County, and there's other stuff. And I believe accordions will be.
There's an accordion jam.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a possibility of thunderstorms late in the afternoon, and so we might be delivered from the accordion jam. No, I didn't say that. Yeah, but I expect Brian and the gang will have a tent set up, and so if it's mild, it'll be all right. If it's a thunder banger, we're headed for the house or the barn or something to get out of that. I don't like being under tent poles in a thunderstorm.
I guess if you're leaving at 5:30, we better just say goodbye now.
I'm taking Angie with me, by the way.
All right.
Oh, she loves it. She loves a road trip. She'll get a nice swim in Lake Baumgartner. That's the scoop. So, and tonight's kind of a dress rehearsal. We're doing some songs that pertain to the entirety of the Great Plains, but there's a version of it that comes from Emmons County. All right. So that's kind of the theme we're rocking with tonight. Let's see. I'm going to need this page a little bit later. We'll throw these over here. Keep this one right here. I'm shuffling the deck, and I'm coming to another Great Plains standard for Ballad for tonight. I learned this song as the Lane County Bachelor, and there's good scholarly work on its history in Lane County, Kansas. And people in Lane County do believe there was a homesteader named Frank Baker, who wrote the ballad of his trials and troubles on the homestead there in Lane County. I cannot confirm that the dude ever actually existed. There are Frank Bakers all over the plains, but I've got no documentation that there was one in Lane County. Correct me if I'm messed up. The earliest texts date from 1891, but it appears to have been circulating and rattling around since the 1870s. One of the earliest texts available, though, happens to come from Emmons County, Kansas, published in the Emmons County Record. Now, you know this song.
Emmons County, Kansas?
Did I say that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I said Emmons County, North Dakota.
Oh, did you?
Didn't I? Yeah.
This one's recorded.
Well, what was I saying now? Come on. Yeah, now you threw me off track. Oh, yeah. You know this song as Starving to Death on a Government Claim. I've sung at least 2 versions of it in recent weeks from different parts of the plain. Starving to Death on a Government Claim, also known as the Lane County Bachelor, and in Emmons County, it was known as the Homesteader's Lament. Homesteader's Lament. If you're a little nutty about folklore, then you will recognize the song. It's to the tune of the traditional jig, the Irish Washerwoman, which became the Lane County Bachelor, which became the Greer County Bachelor. I sang that a few weeks ago. But my earliest published text, though, is Emmons County text, 21st of September, 1894. It's written by a fellow named George Reichman, who began in stanzas, George Reichman's my name and a bachelor I am. Not Frank Baker's my name, you see. George Reichman's my name. So what we have here is a classic case of localization. A ballad that's circulating all over the plains. People grab it out of the air in Emmons County, Kansas, Greer County, Oklahoma, and at least a dozen other places that I can document, and they start singing about their own place. Now, one thing about the song here is it takes on, this is the northernmost version of Starving to Death on a Government Claim that I have located. And so it's got stuff in it that you won't find in a Greer County, Oklahoma version, or even a Lane County, Kansas version. Example, they are all full of bugs. You know, the bane of homesteading's existence is the bugs that would infest the homestead shanties, especially those sod houses. Ooh. Grasshoppers, well, those are mostly outdoors, but bed bugs, fleas. Ooh. There's one line that shows up in all these, how happy I am, I crawl in the bed, rattlesnake rattles tune in my head. Gay little centipede, void of all fear, crawls over my pillow and into my ear. And we were lying in bed here a few nights ago. And did you hear me go, ah, whoop? Right now it's ticks in our part of the country. And there was a little tick that had crawled right over this earlobe, and there he was, just as I was going to sleep. And boy, that woke me up, and I smashed that bugger. They're hard to... bugs. Yeah. So all the ballads have bugs in it. And you get up to North Dakota, the bugs in some way, the problems are different, because you got a homestead claim going in North Dakota. Nobody stayed in that thing the whole winter. They'd go to town for a while. They'd go work out somewhere else because they're freezing out. They couldn't keep the thing warm. And so they'd leave for a while. And when they leave the place unheated, 20 below kills the bugs, folks. Now there might be some eggs tucked in there or in the earth of the house or something like that, and you warm it up again and they'll start popping out, but then you leave again and you killed off the next crop. And so the bugs are not as bad in the northern plains sod houses and homestead shanties as they are in Lane County or Greer County, Kansas, Oklahoma. What you got in North Dakota is mosquitoes. Now, therefore, this is the only text of Homesteader's Lament, Starving to Death on Government Claim, George Reichman's text, that's got mosquitoes in it. It's from southern Emmons County. Okay, rig it up, hang on. When you're not doing anything, come on, maybe you could grab my order of service off where it fell out of my reach there. Well, I can take that one too. Homesteader's Lament, 1894. Oh, George Reichman, my name, and a bachelor I am, keeping an old batch on an elegant plan. You'll find me out west in the Westfield's own plain. Westfield's a little town in Emmons County. I'm starving to death on a government claim. My house, it is built of the natural soil. The walls are erected according to oil. The roof has no pitch, but is level and plain. And I always get wet when it happens to rain. Hurrah for Lane, hurrah for Lane County, hurrah for Emmons County, the land of the free, the home of the grasshopper, bedbug and flea. I'll sing loud its praises, I sing loud its fame, while starving to death on a government claim. My clothes are all ragged, my language is rough, my bread is case hardened and solid and tough. My dough, it is scattered all over the room, and the floor it gets scared at the sight of a broom. My dishes are littered all over the bed, they're covered with sorghum, government bread. Still I have a good time and live at my ease, with my soup, my sorghum, my bacon and grease. Then come to Emmons County, here's a home for you all, where the wind never ceases, the rain never falls, where the sun never sets, but always remains. till it burns us all up on our government claim. How happy I feel when I crawl into bed and a rattlesnake rattles all night at my head, and the jolly mosquito, void of all fear, crawls over my neck and down into my ear. And the little bed bug, so cheerful and bright, he keeps me a-laughing 2/3 of the night. And the smart little flea with the tacks in his toes, to mischief inclined, tickles over my nose. But hurrah for Emmons County, hurrah for the West, where the farmer and the labor are ever at rest, where you've nothing to do but to sweetly remain and starve like a man on a government claim. Oh, how happy I feel on my government claim. I've nothing to lose, and I've nothing to gain, but I've nothing to eat, and nothing to wear, and nothing for nothing is honest and fair. So it's here I am settled, and here I will stay. My money's all gone, and I can't get away. There's nothing that makes a man hard and profane like starving to death on a government claim. Hurrah for Emmons County, where the blizzard arrives, where the wind never ceases and the flea never dies. Come join in its chorus, tell of its fame, you poor hungry settlers that stuck on a claim. Now don't get discouraged, keep your courage like men, for you know we're as free as a pig in a pen. Just stick to your homestead and battle those fleas, and trust in the master to send us a breeze. Oh, but as for myself, I'll no longer remain to starve to death out on a government claim. Farewell to Emmons County, farewell to the West, and backward I'll go to the girl I love best. I'll go to Ontario and give me a wife, and live on corn dodgers the rest of my life. Now the mixed up migrations of that song are kind of evident. He's going back to Ontario to get him a wife. The Reichmans, there were a couple of branches of the Reichman family settled there in south central North Dakota, and they came from Ontario. They were Canadians. But on the other hand, he's going to live on corn dodgers the rest of his life. That's coming out of the southern roots of the folk song. You know, they picked that somewhere in Oklahoma, corn dodgers, and there's reference to eating sorghum. Again, for the people in the northern plains, you don't know what sorghum is, but I've got, a jar of it in the cupboard here, Suzanne. You see me putting it on oatmeal sausage and stuff like that now and then. It's an extract, a boil down from sorghum cane, grain sorghum cane, which won't produce. You can't make sorghum syrup up this far north. And so the travels of the song are kind of layered there in a somewhat nonsensical fashion. But it's planting the flag of that song on the northern plains. Got anything to say from NDSU Press tonight, Dr. K?
I do, just kind of an easy one. I realized today I'm wrapping up my 8th year at NDSU Press.
Is that right?
It is, yes.
That doesn't seem possible.
It's true. And in the thinking about that, it kind of put me in mind about building relationships and things that we do with our authors in particular, but a variety of people. I just started a new newsletter for our authors. I'm calling it In-House Review, which is kind of a play on the idea when we get a new manuscript, that's what we do first. We read it and give it an in-house review. And the idea is to keep them apprised of a lot of things that are going on the inside of the press, so that when they're worried about why their book isn't published just yet, they see, things are happening.
So maybe they stop bugging you, is what you're saying.
Actually, it's generating more emails than I thought it would. But they're all kind, and they're good, and they're following up with things. So building that relationship has been good. I also throw in things teachable moments so that they know in this last issue that I just sent out how the cover design template is mathematically formulated each time based on the trim size of the book and the paper weight, and how all those things factor into our cover design. So it has math and creative elements to it.
Did you say math?
I did,
Oh.
which I avoid as often as possible. But another relationship that happens, particularly over the past years during COVID, is working with our printers. And they were doing their best to churn books out and get things printed. And I got an email the other day from a fellow named Roger, who works at Versa Press in East Peoria, Illinois. I've never met him, but he sent the nicest farewell note. He's retiring. But he really spoke with personal remembrances about things that had happened over the years in our working together. So I'm just having kind of a nice summary, sit back and remember things these past couple of days.
So you started there when you were about 25 years old?
Yeah, sure. In dog years.
Well, speaking of relationships, we got any friends checking in with us tonight?
We do. We have quite a few. In fact, Melvina and John Heisch are reporting from Oklahoma City, where they say it's the home of the Women's College World Series.
And the Cowgirls took a shellacking in the first round, it looked like to me, though.
Yeah. Ken Smith noticed our yellow coordinated set here today.
That's kind of an accident, yeah.
Kind of, but I noticed even your hanky is yellow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know how that works. Von Rothenberger reports 40 hundredths of rain.
Every bit you can get is great.
You're not going to say anything about 4 tenths versus 40 hundredths?
40 hundredths.
40?
Not 40 hundredths, it's 40 hundredths.
Oh, okay, got it right.
40
But he
hundredths.
also points out tomorrow is an important anniversary. June 3 is the 150th anniversary of Henry and Rosa Ives' arrival on the Homestead.
Whoa.
Which led to
Sod and stubble.
Sod and Stubble, yes, which is now being made into a movie. First a book under Von Rothenberger's careful hand, and now into a movie.
Thanks for reminding us of that, Vaughn.
Yeah.
But the yellow, of course, I guess maybe the starting point was the irises.
The irises just popped open this
Just
week.
blew the top off the flower beds today.
Right.
I don't know whether you noticed, Dr. K, because you are on the move all the time. 2 peonies.
Oh, well, when I
Burst
took
out.
the dogs out just a few minutes ago, there were 5
Oh.
that popped open.
Okay. Well, when I come back by Sunday, I'll
Oh, yeah, they
cut
should
some
be wide
peonies to
open.
bring you. Yeah.
In the middle of your irises there, you have a dark purple flag. What's that about?
What's this?
Yeah.
That's one of the fancy irises from out back.
Yeah, you want to say what those come from? Why we have those fancy irises?
No, because I'm not sentimental.
Okay, well then, never mind.
We get tired of the whole business of gifts, you know, like Christmas, we mostly do the Icelandic thing and exchange books and then go to bed early and read them.
Any chocolate?
Any chocolate, yeah. And birthdays and that sort of thing. We try not to. Time's a better gift than chasing around for something for a package. And we kind of agreed on anniversaries, although there can be exceptions to this. Anniversaries, we plant irises in the border out back.
Right. So we're about to have about 14 different
I don't know, because
fancy irises out
a
there.
couple of years
Yeah.
suffered from drought and disappeared. And that's kind of the way it is with life.
Yeah.
Some years are good, some, well, at any rate.
But eventually, we'll just have a whole ring of beautiful, fancy irises out there.
And speaking of kind of digging in and making a garden of the place, I'll paint a little bit of a picture for you. You know, in the days of tree claims from the 1870s, and a lot of them were taken up, particularly in the 1880s, where Congress finally repealed what got to be a little bit of a boondoggle, this business of planting trees to get a second quarter section of ground after your homestead. But some of the people who took advantage of that were Germans from Russia, particularly from the Black Sea area, whose country, of course, is overwhelmed by war today, the old home country. But they planted the trees that were beloved to them, particularly lindens. I've gone out and located some of the tree claims that they planted here on this side of the Atlantic under the Congressional Act of 1873. And it's such an amazing thing when you can go out and hear these cottonwoods, in particular the cottonwoods last in there, and they're absolutely monumental. And you think, my God, that thing's been there 140 years. And then you can kind of make out the area where they set up a picnic area. Oh, and there was the baseball field in there. And oh, wow. So planting flowers, planting trees, landscaping your place helps to make it into a place. Well, when people, particularly the Germans from Russia, and I'm headed for Emmons County tomorrow, so we'll talk about the Germans from Russia. When they left the old country along the Black Sea there, they were established there after a better part of a century of life in that part of the world of the Russian Empire. And they had their groves established, and they were beloved landmarks, recreational areas, places of repose and restoration. And when they arrived here, they had nothing. They had no such things. They just had to start again. And they brought a song with them from the old country. It's actually a German romantic Volkslieder, folk song. Although it was composed, there's a fellow named Anton Wilhelm Florentin von Sukumalio, who was a folklorist as well as a poet and a composer. And he composed the text of this song, and then he set it to an old German romantic folk tune. And then the settlers, the German settlers from Russia, brought it here in the 1870s and 1880s, and so we have it. And we're so blessed to have it. I learned it first from Joseph Haidt's collection, Folk Songs of Our Forefathers. And he gives a translation for it, but his translation, like most translations you find of folk songs, is not singable because he's just translated for the meaning. So I went back and tried again. And after I had sung it for the first time here at the Willow Creek Folk School, his daughter, Dr. Haidt's daughter, was listening, and I asked her, how was it? And she said, you caught the sense of it. I think Dr. Haidt would be pleased. And oh, that pleased me no end. Kein Schöner Land. Kein schöner Land in dieser Zeit, als hier das unsere Weitelreit, wo wir uns finden, wo unter Linden zur Abendzeit, wo wir uns finden, wo unter Linden zur Abendzeit. In this delightful countryside, may we forever here abide. What joy to gather in our groves of linden at eventide. What joy to gather in our groves of linden at eventide. Da haben wir so manche Stunden gesessen da in froher Wund und taten singen, die Lieder klingen im Eichengrund. Und taten singen, die Lieder klingen im Eichengrund. No sweeter songs are there than these we cast upon the prairie breeze. Our hearts are singing, the music ringing among the trees. Our hearts are singing, the music ringing among the trees. Dass wir uns hier schenken, Gott mag es lenken, hat die Gnade. Gott mag es schenken, Gott mag es lenken, hat die Gnade. God grant our gathering shall grow, our children reap what we shall sow. God speed your boundless love, descending as a dove, and make it so. God speed your boundless love, descending as a dove, and make it so. Nun, Brüder, eine gute Nacht. Der Herr im hohen Himmel wacht, in seiner Güten uns zu behüten ist bedacht. In seiner Güte zu behüten ist bedacht. Now, brethren, bid we you good night. The Lord will have us in his sight. Wherever we may roam, he bathes our pathway home with loving light. Wherever we may roam, he bathes our pathway home with loving light. Kein Schöner Land. Well, I'm riding out to Emmons County tomorrow. Dr. K is hanging here with one dog, but I'm taking one with me for company and, spell me on the driving. If the rest of you are looking for anything to do, if you're out in Emmons County or Bismarck or Burling County way, drop by the Welk Homestead State Historic Site. It says here at the top of this poster, events from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. A traditional blacksmith will be on, hammering away on the site. Mary Chosik from the Model Bakery in Linton will be demonstrating. Is it Coogan? Is she making Coogan? What's she making? Yeah. I think she's making Coogan on site. I'm going to be singing from 11:15 to 2, or until somebody stops me. Our great friend Alan Burke will be speaking something about the history of Emmons County. Maybe he's told us on the chat line there. I don't know.
Leah has popped in to say they're just looking forward to everything tomorrow.
Rob Hanna of the State Historical Society will be talking about German Russian folkways. Accordions will commence at 4:15. And, oh my God, Victor Schwann will be playing at 5. Yes. I better clear out. There might be actual musicians showing up. That's going on at the Welk Homestead tomorrow. That evening, I won't be back in time, but we'll make one later in the summer. The first Lindis Barn Dance up by Mayville takes place. You can Google that, Lindis Barn Dance, Lindaas. Summer schedule here I have before me says that we're starting Saturday night at 7:30, tomorrow night at 7:30. In the barn loft. The big news is Elroy's put in air conditioning in the loft. And boy, is it going to get its chance. It'll be hot as a dickens up in that loft. Yes. At least you're not throwing little square bales around up there anymore. No, they'll be dancing till 10:30 or so at Elroy's barn tomorrow night. Check that out if you're anywhere near, or even if you have to drive a good distance. I can recall some pleasant drives over to Elroy's barn at night.
And if you're inclined, you can bring a container of brownies or cookies or something like that. Usually has water, and does he have coffee? Sodas? Has something so people can get refreshed. Non-alcohol.
None of that sneaking out.
No alcohol. And then all around the dance floor, there are sofas and old recliners that people donate. So everybody has a comfortable seat.
So if you accidentally stumble during the butterfly out there, you land in somebody's lap.
If you land in a soft place.
If you're out in the west of the Missouri, you might want to take part in the Old Red Trail rummage sale tomorrow. It's been going on for I don't know how many years, where New Salem, Almont, Glen Ullin, Hebron, Richardson, Taylor, Gladstone, a bunch of beads on a string of the Old Red Trail, which became Highway 10, which is roughly the route of I-94 today, but it runs parallel to it, so you can take the back route parallel to it. And they call it sometimes the coffee cruise, too, because there are a couple of coffee shops open along that route, too, that you can stop in on. But, they just agree that all these towns will coordinate their rummage sales on the historic Old Red Trail, which is also historic Highway 10 after that. It's kind of a hoot, to make that drive. Finally, if you're looking ahead, we got Peggy Lee Day in Valley City on Friday, June the 16th. And you can Google that also. Peggy Lee Day, Valley City, Friday, June 16th at the Valley City State University Art Center. Concert at 7 p.m. Myron Summerfield, Bonnie Lynn, and other guests will be recreating the world of the great torch singer Peggy Lee. What am I forgetting? Anything on the itinerary that we haven't done?
I don't think so.
Well, I've got a closing number, if we're about ready for that. I went in was it Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. And at Prairie Public recording the weekly Plains Folk column. And then I'm on the way home after I came out of the studio, was running errands around town. On the way home, boom, there it comes on the air. Skip already had edited it up, and it was a column called The Wordsworth of Emmons County. It's a column about Nanette M. Maine Lowwater, a forgotten poet and an interesting one. I call her the Wordsworth of Emmons County. She was Connecticut born. She lived in Wisconsin a few years and there married a Civil War veteran. When he passed away, she came out, this is in 1916, she came out to Emmons County and moved on to the farm with her daughter who had married a farmer there. And she lived out her life there until 1932. The interesting thing is her poetry, well, I suppose it was written for a popular audience. She was publishing in national newspapers and magazines. And it was popular, but it's kind of garden variety stuff, literally garden variety stuff. A lot of poems about veterans, because you could always sell a Veterans Day poem on Decoration Day, what we call Memorial Day today. And then she got out to Emmons County. Actually, she went out there and visited before her passed away, and she wrote on a Dakota Prairie, this poem. And it was the lead poem then in her poetry collection that she published about that time. On a Dakota Prairie, some elements of nature began to emerge that impressed with the vast landscape, but as a visitor, right? Then she comes back out to live in 1916, and she publishes a second poem, same title, On a Dakota Prairie, except this time, clearly, she's into the landscape. She's living there. Midsummer rests upon the level plain, she writes. The grain fields reach and melt into the sky, dancing and rippling as the wind sweeps by. A glory rests upon this northern land, the glory of long and loosened light. It's good. But her best one is 1921. Her most grounded and most luminous work, A Song of the Soil. Now, I'm not saying she was out there driving a tractor. She's an old woman from back east, old Yankee woman from back east, but she's observing what's going on, and she's soaking up the rhythm of agricultural operations on the northern plains. And the result is this song that I'm about to give you. Let me fish it out. And get some other stuff arranged here, so finish up in reasonable order. Well, give me just a moment here. The tune, I put it to myself. It's my own tune. I stole my own tune, which I wrote, I believe, in 1973 as a tune to sing some poetry by William Wordsworth, too, back when I was a folkie in college.
1970.
I believe so. But I remembered it well enough to steal it. And it seemed like an appropriate tune for Mrs. Lowwater's poem. Who may sing the city's lure with its miles of house-walled street, where never a path of good soft earth is left for weary feet, where you only see the sun at noon as the captive sees through bars, and only from some highest hung roof can watch the pitting stars. Is glow and glamour and mirth and song in the ceaseless rush of life, where the strong must fight and the weak go down in the surging tide of life, and some there would pine and droop without its gay turmoil. I will sing my humble song to the good life-giving soil. Oh, the bare brown fields where the filmy clouds across the sky roof stray, where blows the sweet untainted wind through the unhurried day, where the plow bites deep and the harrows smooth and the cedars spread the grain to save the hungry multitude from famine's direful strain. With soft green pastures set between where the cattle feed and roam, unshadowed save where here and there is set some humble home, where life goes on with honest toil which harms no brother man, but gives true riches to the world in life's eternal plan. We live so close to nature's heart, and nature's God we hear. His voice is every wind that brings its message to our ear. Each morn is fair as when first made we see the lovely land, and year by year our food we take like manna from his hand. Where there is no Eden, each must tread his winepress all alone, but to the far horizon's verge the blue sky is our own, where the harrow plow bites deep and the harrow smooths and the cedars spread the grain to save the hungry multitude from famine's direful strain. Where the deer and the antelope play, way out on the plains of Kansas, where the wind blows hard and hot, there's a little old sod building where the ferry boys were shot. Two men in the prime of manhood, and the father with silvery hair were cruelly murdered that bright day by an outlaw millionaire. Oh, how happy I feel when I crawl in the bed and a rattlesnake he rattles his tune head and that jolly mosquito, void of all fear, crawls over my neck and down into my ear. Kein Schöner Land, in diese Zeit, als hier das unsere weit und breit, wo wir uns finden, unter Linden, zur Abendzeit. Where the plow bites deep and the harrow smooth and the cedars spread the grain to save the hungry multitude from famine's direful reign. Your life goes on with honest toil, which harms no brother man, but gives true riches to the world in life's eternal plan. Where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all the day. The plow bites deep and the barrow smooth, and the cedars spread the grain. Down here life goes on with honest toil, which harms no brother man, but gives true riches to the world, life's eternal plan. And the sky Dr. Kelly.
We now conclude today's edition of the Folk School on Willow Creek. We invite you to join us again next Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time for more songs and stories.